Hello and welcome back to Africa Down Under. I'm here with Andrew Wright, who's CEO of Jupiter Lithium, a Nigerian-based lithium company. Andrew, thanks for joining us here at Africa Down Under. Great start to the conference today and a big Nigerian delegation. We know the country is a fossil fuel producer, one of the largest oil producers in the world, but there seems to be a pivot towards solid state minerals. Is that fair to say?
Very fair to say. I think the oil and gas side of the country's fortune over the last few decades, since '55, has been very focused on oil and gas. That is diminishing, as is the consumption of oil and gas in the rest of the world. And the Jupiter project is actually a pivot point, a transition for the Nigerian economy away from the oil and gas and into the clean energy economy. And Jupiter Lithium is unlocking that potential.
Tell me a little bit about the project itself then. We've seen a lot of lithium projects here in Australia in recent years. How does it compare to these classic spodumene projects that we're seeing here?
In comparison, it's a very different project. Our lithium is occurring in outcrops, so it's probably a significant advantage for us in that we can walk over it and around it without having to drill for it. It's obvious. So the first stage of production is literally a quarry operation, and we could be operating quarries for quite a few years before we really need to get into a bigger open cut style operation. That we will do, of course. But some of the other drivers, because it is outcropping, we are able to start production early. So without having done years of drilling and develop a JORC, we are producing already. And we're using local contractors to do that. And that has the impact of creating immediate activity. We're not having to occupy the land and secure it. We're actually working at using the locals to do that. So it's working now.
And I imagine as an outcropping deposit close to surface, that adds a lot of cost benefits. And obviously, as we see in the lithium space, cost is king really in many situations.
Very much so. And with the current pricing, of course, it makes it even more important. We will be the lowest cost producer of hard rock lithium in the world. There's no doubt about that. That's our goal from day one. But as I said, the outcropping nature of this, the fact that it's above ground in reality, is one advantage. But there are other advantages too, in that it's high grade lithium. So people in Australia get excited about 1.2, 1.5%. Our average grades are 2.2, 2.4. So we're significantly higher grade, which means that we can also get by with simple DMS plant processing to produce confidently the SC6 grade. That's very different to the struggle to get an SC6 here. A lot of them are producing 5.3, 5.4. We'll easily get to the SC6. Yeah.
And when we look at projects here in Australia and elsewhere in the world, in Africa as well, there's a consideration of downstream processing and value addition. Have you been able to map out a path towards a value-added product with Jupiter?
Indeed, and that's another big focus, not just for us, but for the country in general. Nigeria has moved, obviously, to encourage downstream processing of the lithium. Now, in our development plans, that is just inherent. We've designed this with modular scale plants in mind, and because of our outcropping nature, we're now up to 36 outcrops. So I think in 2022 we had a resource estimate, target resource estimate done by independent Canadian geologists that had, I think there was about a 31 million tonne target resource estimate placed on the mine, and that was only on 4 of the 17 targets at the time. Now there are 36, so we're confident that it's much bigger than even that was first forecast. But in going further downstream, the DMS plants will actually be small and modular. They will be located at each of the targets, so our transport distances are short, and that's better than having a much larger centralised plant. But remembering that we're in Nigeria, And so access to heavy lift craneage in the central part of the country presents a different set of problems. So by keeping the plant small and modular, we're avoiding the specialised equipment for transport, installation, operation and maintenance. And by having multiple plants, our spares processing management means that we can get reliability up. If we have a minor breakdown, it's not a train smash, so to speak. And we would have a range of spares that could be used on any one of the plants that we will have operating. Multiple plants is important. The next part of the cost processing is of cost minimisation is very interesting in that we've partnered with a US NASDAQ listed company that will be producing the lithium concentrate from our SC6 product, and they'll be doing it on a nearby in-country lithium processing plant, carbonate processing plant, with their in-house technology. And that, from an environmental perspective, is very interesting because we're no longer shipping not even DSO or 6% concentrate. We're transporting that less than 100 kilometres and it will be turned into lithium carbonate. Now, from a shipping perspective, that's about an 80% reduction in CO2 emissions. So the environmental aspects of keeping it all local are also part of the cost minimisation.
Looking at, you mentioned Nigeria's shift towards minerals and energy transition materials. Is that translating into support for this project? Are you finding a government that's supportive? That we see the Nigerian government here this week, a big delegation. Do you feel like you're in a country that's going to help you develop this project?
Absolutely. I think the feedback that we have is that they do see this as the clean energy economy and a transition for them. Certainly at the highest levels in their government, they recognise that the mining sector, which is incredibly developed in the country, and if you compare it with the neighbours, Nigeria's mining economy is much, much smaller. However, it's as a region, as a country, its mineral resource wealth is just outstanding. And so a project of this nature, large-scale lithium development, we will bring global best practice to that. And that's what Nigeria needs to see. And it will shine the light on how they can develop the balance of their resources in the country. Because the artisanal operations are small, they're uncontrolled, and create an environmental issue at the very least. But certainly by bringing modern mining practices to Nigeria, we will change the way and lead the way, and that will have the government support, yeah, definitely.
Andrew, it sounds like it's a very encouraging story and very interesting story. We look forward to keeping an eye out in the future for what happens next. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck for the rest of Africa Down Under.
Thanks very much, Dominic. It's an exciting conference.